usual, we are alive.
I'll call this April 6th, 2022 Port and Commerce Advisory Board regular meeting to order. Can everybody join me to say the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Okay, roll call. Wolkers. Lawrence.
Here.
Paquette.
Here.
Jaffa.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
Holmdahl.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we will have citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Those who have signed in will be given the first opportunity to speak, and time is limited to 3 minutes, 36 minutes total time. Mr. Clerk, has anybody signed in to speak?
There's one person, Carol Griswold.
Please.
Is this on?
Yes.
Dear Commission and Administration and Public, thank you for adding the washdown pad and creosote floats to the agenda for discussion. I remain concerned about the location and design of the washdown pad. Best management practices all over the country recommend locating washdown pads as far from the water as possible. It is inconceivable that a commercial vessel washdown pad would be located so close to pedestrians and businesses, including restaurants and hotel, a seafood processing plant, and the harbor. The washdown pad system should be totally contained so nothing enters the water. The stormwater inlet should not be located on the washdown pad, and the outfall pipe should not flow into the harbor. The pipe should be connected to the treatment storage tank in a closed-loop system. The washdown pad should be raised above grade and sloped to the sump to prevent rainwater from running onto the pad and wash water from running off the pad. Berms should be installed to help install the wash water and storm water. These washdown pad features are not included in the packet design. The facility is, quote, too far from the water, unquote, from the south side and east side for the overspray to reach. It is not possible to completely contain overspray from contaminating adjacent property and harbor water, even if it's not windy. The small building will not block overspray to the sidewalk and Port Avenue. The fine mesh fabric barrier used at Smick Shipyard to contain overspray has not been effective due to wind, holes, and difficulty suspending it from the poles and lines. It is like a black sheet on a clothesline flapping in the wind. This system will not protect the restaurant, coffee shop, bike shop, customers, and pedestrians yards away to the west. It will also be ugly. Will this facility be used in winter or late spring? Without a heated slab and building, how will contaminated ice, snow, and rain be prevented from entering harbor waters? The washdown pad is located too close to the harbor and people. The design should be a closed loop for wash water and storm water. If the city values our residents, businesses, the tourism economy, and our environment, this washdown pad should be redesigned and relocated. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, the consent agenda.
Second.
So,
Discussion.
yeah, are there any changes, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, can we vote on the agenda?
Okay, voting on the agenda and consent agenda. Lawrence.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Wolkers. Paquette.
Yes.
Jaffa.
Yes.
And Chair Holmdahl.
Yes.
That motion is approved.
Thank you.
And let's see, would you like me to read? So today's agenda and consent agenda are approved. And approved on that consent agenda is the approval of the February 16th, 2022 PACAB special meeting minutes and the March 2nd, 2022 PACAB regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Next are special orders, presentations, and reports, proclamations or awards. There are no proclamations or awards. Does the administration have a report?
I just have a question for the board members. So this is something that's, I guess, come to my mind of late, and I asked the clerk to modify the format on the agenda to reflect Administration Report B under 6. We used to have a Harbor Master report and an Administration report, and just reflecting on the varying topics that this body discusses, I was hoping to get some feedback from you all on what type of information that you would like administration to bring to the report. Norm usually provides some information that's pertinent to specific topics, and I'm hesitant just to provide like the same type of information that is included in a city council packet under the city manager's report. And so I was hoping to get some feedback from you guys on what type of information you would like to see included in the administration reports in your regular meeting packets. Do you want it just specific to what's going on this specific agenda, or would you like to hear a recap of like other projects you guys have been talking about, residential and workforce and other things? But I'm just trying to get a gauge on what you would like, what type of information you would like us to provide for you.
Under reports, is this something we can discuss right now?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that
Yep.
I'm following the rules correctly. I would answer that I would like to hear whatever you think is pertinent, whether it's something that is before us or something that may come before us, so that we have advanced warning of it. But that's what I would be looking for. Nothing is involved as what we get from the city, at the city council meetings, but definitely anything that impacts or touches things that are currently in front of us or has a very strong potential to be something we're tasked with.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Please.
On the, our priorities list, there's several items that say track progress of, or you know, like the SMIC and the net metering, utility things. Things like that I think would be appreciated. And I don't have a priorities list in front of me right now. But.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I appreciate the system manager bringing that to attention, because I think it's a germane topic, and certainly we understand the Harbor Master's report as it deals with the port and commerce area. The mission of the PACAB is certainly under discussion, and has been, and it is broad, as you said. I would agree with the chair that, you know, and Board Member Smith, that heads up on impending problems or successes. You know, I learned early that if you're going to bring problems to people, it's nice to occasionally bring a success. So knowing that the efforts of the board are helpful, and frankly, this is an advisory board. I believe it's here to advise both administration and council what they need. So besides ongoing projects like Board Member Smith, I think, you know, the good and welfare of the community is something that the administration clearly is on top of always. And if there's something new, that's or a change, primarily a change, I think that's the most important thing. If we all go along with the idea, if I might make a case in point, I've heard a tremendous amount of back and forth on the library annex. Today I tend to ask about that, but if there's a change in what the direction of the administration is going to do or go. I think advising the board or asking the board's input on it would be really helpful.
Thank you.
No surprises, Steve, I think that's what I'm saying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Is it your thought that you would combine them, so it would just be administration report, and then we'd hear about the harbor and then anything else? As opposed to harbor master report and then administration?
Correct, we could just put it in there, and, I could just keep doing my report like I've been doing it, and you can add to it. I mean, I think that, to me, it's great that you guys know what's going on, I think, but that's, and I don't know why my report's not in here, I sent it up, but I can touch on some things.
If I could, when Norm was acting city manager, I think he gave us all at once, gave us everything, and that was unique. That's not what we want, but it did include all the functions of the city on that side, including occasional electrical or public works reports, because those do sometimes land in front of us.
Thank you.
Just to touch a couple things. So just to let everybody know, Matt Fish is retiring at the end of the month. His last day's working going to be the 29th. There's going to be a retirement party on the 30th. There'll be some flyers out where it's at and what time and stuff. It'll be like a potluck. And all of our projects are moving forward, and they're actually welding anodes on the piling for the GK&L float this week, and then next week they're going to move to the concrete floats, and all those pilings on the concrete floats will have new anodes. I just want to throw that out there.
Is that where we are in the agenda, harbor master's report?
Well, it's
Not
administration
technically,
report.
but it's administration and...
Can we get an update on the styrofoam?
So I called the contractor, which had everybody sign for the floats. They weren't from all the floats they said they're accounted for. So there was some floats signed over by a local individual, and he replaced some floats he had out in the bay. Now, I don't know what he did with his old floats. They were from years and years ago. I don't know if those are them or not, but that could have happened. But all the ones that were signed for, there's someone up by the airport, they're still there all intact. There's some at a low point. They're all still intact. They are removing it, but they're up on the beach.
So we don't know where the styrofoam came from?
They look really weathered, not fresh from underneath the dock. If you look out around it, that's not how you can go look at the ones up there.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know where they came from. But I did call the contractor immediately, and he checked with everybody, and everybody's both were accounted for.
And is there a need for the city to do any kind of a cleanup, do we think?
So the contractor's responsible for them. He has to remove them and get rid of them. And then we make them, have them, whoever he gives the dock to, sells them or whoever, they have to sign a waiver. That if there's any, if they break free or whatever, you're responsible for going getting them and everything. So, and the contractor has those waivers.
Okay, anything else for Laura? Okay, next is reports and announcements. And first is the Alaska Railroad report, and you see Krista Terry isn't present. There is a report in our packets, but it appears that there's nobody here to speak on that, so we will move on to the Chamber of Commerce report.
Hello. I've pretty much updated you guys on all the cool stuff in the packet. We had our community awards last month now, which is a really exciting event that we got to honor some local hard workers. Our visitor center has been getting busier, but something I really want to update you guys on is, like 20 minutes ago, we sent out a community and membership survey that is part related to community housing, and then part membership. So if you hit yes, I'm a member, it leads you to the membership part. But it's open to everyone to kind of get a gist and an understanding of housing issues, what people are looking for in housing, whether it's a duplex, apartment, a property, a 3-bedroom home, 2-bedroom home, lost revenue because of the housing issues impacting employees and things like that. So that was sent out in our newsletter 22 minutes ago and posted on Facebook. We'll also get it out in the Sewer Journal. It'll be open for about a month. So I'm looking forward to next month when I can bring all of that information to you and kind of figure out some more facets to that bigger conversation we've all been having, and hopefully dig into that question a little bit more. I will also, the hometown guide goes to print next week or Sunday, so that'll be exciting. And we'll be having a ice cream social event at the Sea Life Center on May 12th to celebrate that, welcome seasonal employees to town, and kind of have a dual information meeting and hiring fair at the Sea Life Center. Other than that, things are moving along smoothly. No big hiccups in any of our projects. I'm slowly learning how to do permitting and processes at the city as we install our electric charging stations. Totally a new thing for me, but it's exciting. And now that the ground is a little bit frozen, we should be able to get those in soon. I also included some fun data for you about our events in town. That gives a little bit more of an understanding to how we attract people around our major events like the Mount Marathon race and the Salmon Derby. Something that I thought was interesting was that for a downtown-oriented event like Mount Marathon, nearly all of the visitors also go to the boat harbor, but the inverse is not true of the Salmon Derby. Salmon Derby people do not go into town, so something cool to focus on and think about. Any questions or anything? Go ahead.
The survey that you're putting out is housing needs, and it's just through the local chamber members?
So it's, we're calling it our annual survey. Usually around this time of year, we put out a membership survey, but there's so much development needs in the community, we decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and thanks to survey technology on the internet, you can go through and answer all the housing, and then it says, are you a Seward Chamber of Commerce member? If you hit yes, it brings you forward to more survey about membership and how we serve you as a Chamber of Commerce. If you say no, it says why not, and then you're done. It also has an option for individuals in the community without a business to leave comments about how they feel about the community as a whole. So we're kind of hoping to throw out a broader net than just our membership. While we love hearing our membership voices at this time in the grand scheme of Seward, we want to hear some other voices as well and figure out why you're not a chamber member.
Follow up?
Yes.
So in your membership, Seward, you likely have Seward contractors?
Yes.
Because my opinion, I think we've talked about it, the solution is going to come from builders. So getting the word to builders that there's a need and an opportunity.
And that would be good, yes, so I hope that they take the survey as well, but that would also be a good place to broadcast that information after the fact. Yes, we always say that there's a need, but if we have some more concrete resources of, say, like 70 people said they want a duplex tomorrow, we can put that information out there as well.
Well, if I might, but you're tied to the state group, so the state chamber of commerce.
Not at all. Yeah, no.
Okay. So
we're a separate entity.
This is very focal. Okay.
Yeah, hyper-local, not involved in that at all.
Thank you.
And please take the survey as well. I won't be offended if you say anything should change about me. Cool, anything else?
You're excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So that is it for reports. Are there any presentations? No.
No presentations.
No presentations. Moving on to new business. Mr. Clerk, can you read the title of our resolution?
Okay, so Resolution 2022-005, recommending that City Council amend the Port and Harbor tariff regulations to increase the waitlist fee, labor and personnel charges, boat tow fees, travel lift fees, and wharf demurrage rates effective January 1st, 2023.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, I move to approve Resolution 2022-005.
Second it.
Thank you. Administration, do you have any comments?
Yes, ma'am. So I just want to let everybody know, you agreed to that far right column, but I just rounded to the nearest dollar to make the counting much easier. I forgot to say that the other day, but I just want to let you know that's what I did. That's why there's a few pennies off here and there, because I just rounded to that. So this is everything that we talked about at the meeting, and bring it before you we'll take it before council.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I do have a question.
Please.
Just, well, on the traveler fees, were those set in stone in 19, whatever it was, the last time they were?
The only one that was raised back then was 2015 was the 330 ton, because they don't pay for the new lift. And then the 50 ton has not been raised.
Yeah, because it looks like, if I did my math right, it's about 26%, which that was that figure that was floated last time, that if inflationary increases, is that correct?
Correct.
For the change, okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other discussion regarding resolution 2022-005?
Call for a
Can we call
vote?
for a vote, please?
Okay, voting on resolution 2022-005. Jaffa?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
And Chair Holmdahl?
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved.
Okay, we will be moving on to our other new business, which is to discuss the harbor washdown pad and the creosote floats. Does anybody want to start us off on that discussion?
I will, just because I asked for it to be on the agenda because Carol had come to me and expressed her continued concerns. And so I'm a little sad she didn't stay for the discussion. But I also knew that Norm had indicated that after our last discussion, that a lot of the suggestions had been incorporated. So I'm thinking the first thing is you should probably bring us up to speed on where the design is right now. And then we can talk about her concerns.
So the washdown pad or the floats? Which you want to wash down?
Let's start with the washdown pad.
Okay, washdown pad. We're at 95% design, so it's been permitted. So we're just, we're waiting to find out about the grant money to build it. So I took into, I know I wasn't here for that meeting, we are going to put the tubing in the washdown pad for future, if we ever heat it. There is going to be a oil water separator between the pad and the water, and there's two hatches. There's a hatch for washing and a hatch for stormwater. So when you're washing the boat, it's a sealed hatch, it seals the stormwater, just like across the bay. You can go over there, I can meet you over there, we can show you everything over there. And the water gets reprocessed, and we can show you how it comes crystal clear again. And after every boat lift, the owner of the vessel has to clean the pad. So he sprays the pad down, the water goes into to be reprocessed. And then if there's no more for that day, then it gets, the container gets shut, and then storm water gets opened up for rainwater. So the pad does get cleaned, it doesn't stay dirty, and some board member Lawrence will tell you that they do it across the bay, they have to clean the pad immediately, so we can't have anything going down into the water. So that's why the pad is clean, pressure washed with hot water. That was that, and according to the engineer, that spray thing is going to come up and down. We can raise it, we can lower it. So these boats are smaller than SMIC. I know SMIC is larger, and they're higher, but these boats are smaller, and so most of the other ones like Cordova and theirs is right closer to the water, and they do the same thing. And it is raised, everything drains to the middle of the pad. What we did at SMIC, we did pave around it to make sure it was higher. That's something that can be incorporated here also, but it is higher than the outside. Everything drains to the middle. So I understand our concerns, and we try to do everything we can to contain everything within the system. I think, in my opinion, the building would definitely stop the building we have across stops the spray going, and we used to wash boats there all the time with suit fish, even closer to the old lift site. That, there's no contamination there. I mean, so.
Could you speak just a little bit more on the screen you were talking about?
So it's a mesh screen, it's a fine mesh screen, it's supposed to stop spray, and it'll keep it, we're gonna do that where the sidewalk is, by the train ramp right there. So it'd be, I can't remember the length, it's big enough to cover the whole front plus more of, any spray that could go towards the train ramp.
And that'll be raised and lowered?
Be raised and lowered.
Okay.
Madam Chair, thank you, Norm. I wanted to thank you for sending me the email with the in-depth environmental study and studies to see what was necessary to make sure everything was pretty much environmental friendly and a sign-off. I have a procedural question. When someone gets up and makes comments, are we as board members allowed to ask them questions before they leave during the citizens' comment period?
I think you have to wait till the end.
You have to suspend the rules. You have to suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to question some of the statements, best practices, who's your source, that sort of thing. I mean, we need to have that information, and it'd be nice to be able to question a person on what they're quoting on, instead of just throwing it out there, so.
I was going to say, can you speak to her concerns? Should we be considering a different location?
In my opinion, I don't think so. I think it's a perfect spot. Really, the city has no more land down there except for the parking lot, the northeast parking lot. The city owns no more land down there. So unless we privatize it to one of the yards, then I don't know how that would work. But I didn't want to put it right as you come off the travel lift pit because it is close to the water. But we do have our turnaround. In my opinion, it's far enough, and it's going to be raised. Nothing's going to be draining. I mean,
I'd like to play devil's advocate if I could, just a little bit. Board Member Hughes they talked about the arguments that presented by Ms. Griswold. I don't doubt that she's done her research, and I don't doubt that she is accurately quoting some valid concern. That's one side. Another, just because Cordova or Teldovia or we used to did something doesn't give justification to us to not do the best we can today. And you're certainly trying to do the best you can, but you can't, I don't believe, you can't build your argument on saying, well, the other guy does it too. I have a question for the harbor master, and it seems to me that we're speculating about a potential problem that may not exist. If, as I understand it, people are not going to pull their boats out of the water if it's tremendously windy. So as far as overspray, that condition isn't going to probably exist. And in the worst case, if this became a problem, what would keep the city from saying we can't do it anymore?
we could just shut it down.
Yeah.
But, man,
Yes, please.
so right now, there's 5 yards roughly washing vessels in 5 different locations. You have 5 different locations where the water is draining to the bay. Here, we're going to contain it, reprocess it, so there's less contamination. I think there's a whole lot less. I understand it could be parts per million that might be still on the pad that might get in there, but what these boats release every day with their bottom paint going back and forth is more than what's going to be on the pad, in my opinion. I'm not a scientist, but
I can speak to this as a user of the washdown pad at the 330-ton lift, and I think what Norm just said is exactly right. We used to wash the boats in the SMIC yard, and, we put tarp or whatever, the containment down under the boats, and did everything we could to be as environmentally cautious as we could. As soon as that washdown pad went in, was like a game changer for boat washing and for cleanliness. And if any of you if you haven't had the opportunity to go watch while one of these boats is being pressure washed, you should take the opportunity to go sometime, because it's, you can see what's happening with the water and how it gets contained, how it gets circulated, how it gets cleaned, if you will. It's a very well thought out system that works really well. And I think that everything is not everything, because you can't say everything, but 99% of what's getting washed is getting caught by that washdown pad, and it's going into the tank and it's getting cleaned. And when anybody that uses the 330 ton, like Norm said, when you're done, if it's our company, there's 4 or 5 of our crew over there. We're sweeping everything into the middle, and then we're pressure washing it. And if you went over there today and it hasn't been used for a month, and you went over there after we got done using it, it would look just as clean, because we're pressure washing everything in. They have good containment system. They have stuff that catches the bigger product that's coming off of the boats. And I'm fully supportive of where it's at, how it's built, and all the precautions that are being taken, I think, are great. And when we're driving our boats around, anybody that has bottom paint on their boat, which everybody does, it's sloughing, it's anti-fouling paint. That's what it's made to do. So what we're putting into that tank is a lot less than we are 365 days a year in the water.
Thank you.
But it's also all the paint that people use now is also much more environmentally friendly than it was 20 years ago when it was copper-based or lead-based or whatever. You know, we have e-paint. That's what we use.
Yeah, I certainly understand. Nothing is without some cost or impact. Two things. One, you've gone from 65% to 95%. Seems like a month.
They had a schedule, so when they came in, they were at 65% design, but they were probably there a month or two before. But the 95% design is when the permitting comes in, and there's been permitted, so.
Okay. Second, it seems to me that one of the objections, and I think it's reasonable, is overspray, and there's going to be some. There's going to be mist or something like that, and you get Joe Blow from Des Moines, Iowa, comes up on a tour boat, and he's walking by there, and he gets blasted, and he says, boy, this is a horrible place. That problem could be easily remedied by having a sign along the walkway saying what you're doing. You know, a simple sign, there are nice signs today, it says Seward wash pad was designed with you in mind, you know, and this is the purpose of it. Just something simple like that, I think would resolve a lot of a potential public relations issue, and I think that's as big a thing as any of the rest of us, and I fully support the project too.
And I think, to Bruce's point, the harbor already does a good job of trying to schedule their lifts and whatnot, and I think, you know, the train comes in every day at 11:30, so maybe not having a boat getting washed at 11:30 or at 5:30 when they're boarding would be smart, because, and I speak to this as a business that's right there. We have hundreds of people that walk from the train to our hotel that then go on our boat. And Bruce is right, it would be pretty easy to get people wet then, but, you know, I don't think you would schedule something at 11 o'clock to get washed down at 11:30 anyway, so just think about it.
Well, I want to say thank you, because for being responsive, for taking the feedback from the last meeting and incorporating the concerns. I feel like the city's doing their best to do the project well and address the public concerns. And so I'm on board with it. You know, I mean, I think ideally, maybe a different location would be good, but if there isn't another location, then I think it sounds like we're trying our hardest to do the best.
Yes?
And Madam Chair and Councilman, board members here, I really believe that with Norm at the helm of the harbor master, we are one of the most progressive harbors in the country as far as trying to comply with environmental requirements, keeping a safe, clean harbor. And I understand Ms. Griswold's concerns, but I think they've been mitigated very well by the city with their efforts to try to build this. And I actually believe that the washdown pad is in a perfect location, and I truly support this.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Thank you for continuing to look into this issue. And if these concerns were relayed to the design team, the architects and engineers, and they've gone through the proper channels and proper permitting, really, the honest is they're taking responsibility for it. So if we've done our due diligence in that respect, then that's pretty much it. I would like to make a recommendation operating it. In my prior career there, one of the things that we always did was have a rover, have somebody looking for overspray. So if you are pressure washing boats, I'd recommend there be one person whose job is to make sure that public isn't involved in that process. And I do have some experience with that sort of, I can't remember the name of it, that mesh material, and I can attest that it does pretty much drop everything out of the air. We put that up over the transfer tower, and nothing gets through it, water vapor, dust, as long as it's maintained in place. But it is kind of hard to handle, tears and stuff, so have some spares maybe. Thank you.
And I would just like to sum up the one thing that wasn't touched on is it's been brought up the location to a seafood processing plant, and I am currently running a seafood processing plant next to the existing one. Admittedly, we haven't been processing while it's been in use, but I was on site all last summer while it was being used, and I had zero concerns. And it's pretty windy on that side, even windier than over here sometimes. And as a processor, we didn't have any concerns with it reaching us, or we were also able to observe how the water was handled, and we didn't have concerns with any contamination that might come onto our property or anything like that. So from that standpoint, I don't think there's a concern from seafood processing. I'd also like to echo how much I appreciate the response to citizens' comments, our comments, and putting those things in. So I'm very happy with our progress in that. Let's move on to any discussion regarding the creosote floats. And Norm, do you have any information for us on that?
Sure, I thought maybe they were thinking that, there's no creosote piling, okay, creosote piling's all gone. So, and if your tub floats, the only part that's in the water is the laminated beams, and they can't use that other chemical, the .ZZA, because it delaminates them, so they have the creosote, but it hardens. So the South Launch Ramp has the same design. Just the beams are in the water. The tubs, there's nothing else in the water, just those beams that run down the edge. And they're protected by the plastic rub rail.
Okay.
So, they could get hit and then dent, but you can go down there, and even on a hot day, there's no leaching of those beams, creosote into the water. I think the technology, not like the old days with those creosote piling. Mm-hmm. When they pulled all the piling off of GK and outflow, we had a sheen down in the harbor just from pulling those piling out of the water. So these, you can go down there, like I said, there's no leaching. And like I said, I understand the floats are actually being built right now. And GK and outflow, there's no wood in the water. That's the main thing that I like. No wood in the water, no wood to rot. Except for those thick beams are the only thing. And to get the long-term life out of them. So with those beams, we're getting 50-year life out of just those beams.
Just one second. I do appreciate that clarification, because the conversations that have been had with me regarding this have been with the idea of putting creosote into the water. So I think that clarification that in no way is any creosote-treated lumber going to be in contact with the water, I think, is a huge clarification. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just for the public, so they understand why we're discussing this, there were concerns brought to myself and Chair Holmdahl, and I don't know, maybe others on the board, but I just felt like it would be a good idea to bring the documents, and they are in this packet, so anybody in the public that is concerned about this idea of the creosote, the packet for our meeting right here has all of the backup documentation in it. And the copy that I was given even had it highlighted where the conversation's about. I'm not seeing the highlights in here, but this all went through proper permitting, proper evaluation, and I wanted it to come back into the public so we could point that out, because there have been people that have been very upset about, what do you mean you're doing creosote? And I mean, it blew me away, because I'm like, well, okay, because I voted on it back in the day, right, when it came before us earlier. So I think there is a little bit of culture that we're having to overcome, right? Previous administrations have not necessarily always chosen to do the right thing and haven't always chosen to be transparent about what was happening. And so I think that that's where we are, is we're just needing to show this because we did do the right thing, and this is the right way to do it, and it's the right equipment. And we went through all the steps.
Just do one note. So one of the things is we didn't have to pay for any of the design because this is a fish and game design. So they're the ones who design it. They asked me if I wanted it. I go, okay, I'm going to design it my way. And they go, no, that's why they're paying 75% of the project. So they designed it. But like I said, there's just those two beams and they're actually protected underneath by a piece of plastic, so they're not rubbing on the concrete. So there's nothing.
Fantastic, thank you for that update. Any further discussion on creosote or washdown pad? Okay, moving on, just as an informational item, our priorities and goals are included in the packet. And then we'll be moving on to citizen comments. I don't see any citizen comments, so we will move on to board and administration comments. I'm going to start on this side. Mr. Smith may have to leave.
Okay, thank you for the updates there from the harbor master. Looks like boat ramp. I will be excited to use it. Excuse me. The last, there was a article there I wanted to comment about in the, I don't know, maybe a letter from Nicole Lawrence, and it's a worthwhile read. And I am a little, I guess you never know how stuff's gonna happen when you throw it out there, but it sounds like quite a bit of kind of flack was thrown towards the realtors of the town, and we had them come as guests to talk to us, and that certainly, I don't think, was the tone that came out of these meetings. They're serving our community by offering property, showing properties, and I think that's an important role. But more back to the housing issue, you can look at the number of rentals in Seward right now, and it's not necessarily properties for sale. And last time I checked, there was 0, and there was 65 Airbnbs. Coming into the summer season here, I think a lot of people are feeling that crunch, and it's something we shouldn't forget. But certainly, all of our community members deserve respect when we're interacting with them and working through living in a small community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I do want to thank Harbor Master and administration for providing the information on what due diligence was done on this project so we can answer questions. I think it's important, as an advisory board for the city of Seward, that we do check into things, and if we have a citizen bring forth their concerns, then it is our job to check into and find out what was done and what was not done. And in this case, I believe everything was done that was necessary. And I want to thank the citizen for bringing their concerns to us, but I do believe this project was done correctly.
I've got a couple of things, actually. Thank you to administration for all of this. So I'm curious, and I feel like this is a place where we've got some exposure, because we get letters, we get correspondence But then that correspondence, never in our packet, and it never seems to come up on the agenda for discussion. And I've served on other boards where there actually was a standard place in the agenda where if there had been correspondence, you would discuss it. So I just wonder what the board's feeling is about that. Would we like to see a correspondence section in our agenda so that we could discuss these letters on the dais? Because basically, we never discuss them, because we get them, but then they don't, unless somebody says, put it on the agenda, it doesn't end up in front of us as a group.
I think it's worth looking into. I've made a note to talk with the clerk about it, because it answers the question I had before the meeting about how we bring forth correspondence with us
Right.
to the group.
Could I, Madam Chair,
Please.
just make mention that, and perhaps the deputy clerk wants to chime in on this as well. I think one of the important things to think about in that regard is the lead time in order to make it into your packet. So if this body receives correspondence, sometimes a lot, and I can speak to council meetings, this comes up pretty frequently. So right now, literally as we speak, the clerk's office is working on finalizing the packet for the meeting on Monday night. So if a citizen sends in comments Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't make it into the packet. And a lot of times because of that short lead time, so the public has access to the council packet on Thursday, and then they digest it and provide comment, it's not gonna make it into that packet.
Right.
And so it seems like the best thing that this body can do is if you receive comments from the public, whether they be while you're walking down, 4th Avenue, or seeing somebody at the grocery store, phone call, email, whatever, if board members feel like it's an item that the entire board should be considering, then do as you did, Madam Vice Chair, and prepare the agenda statement, put it into the packet, talk to administration about, we need background materials, so Norm provided you guys a lot of the material that you needed. That seems like the most effective way to deal with items that citizens have comment on. One of the critiques of government is that we're slow, but a lot of times that slowness is in reaction to providing public
Right.
input,
Right.
commentary, and review. So it seems, I guess from administration's point of view, that's probably the best thing that this body can do. And that's pretty successful when it comes to city council.
Thanks,
I don't
that's
know if
helpful.
Chris wants to chime in on that at all, but.
Yeah, it would just be, we just have to agree on the procedure, like if comments come in after the deadline, do they become laydowns, and are we gonna pick and choose which comments we share, or just submit everything? I'm not really aware of how many comments you get that are sent to you directly, so it's hard for me to judge the volume of what the content would be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing too, so say if you get something and you can put it as lay down, and if for electric, we need to have Rob here to answer the questions, and we won't know it if it's laid down right at the meeting.
Right.
So, things like that, and, like Rob's out right now, gotta get somebody else here, so that's another thing too. We can just, I know that, the answer to their questions is what we need to do, but we just gotta do it in the right time frame, I think.
We can get some options before next week.
Hang on a sec, I'm not done. So those of you that have been here a while, we were told that the city had gotten us Robert Rules of Orders for Dummies. And I don't know if any of you have gotten your books, but Chris brought them downstairs, and they're here, so if you want your copy, you can sign out for them, sign it out today. Congratulations to Matt Chase for his retirement. That's pretty exciting. Okay, the other thing I don't know if it was in every packet, but usually there was a list of our schedule. So I'm wondering what's on I'm wondering a couple of things. What's on the work session agenda for 2 weeks from now? What's on the next agenda? What's the plan for either picking up the research we were doing on employee retention or summarizing the work we've done already on employee retention? I'm lost, I don't know where we are on that.
I think that would be a matter to put on our next meeting as a work session, and I think that that's something that can go on our agenda.
So so it's usually in the end of the packet, it looks like it maybe just got missed because it's a pretty good sized packet.
Yeah.
It's usually at the end.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it just got missed by accident. I think the clerk can get it, but next time it's always there usually, so.
Yeah,
And we can request that on the work session for our next meeting.
I'm done, thank you.
Colby?
Let's just look at the calendar. I just reiterate what everybody else said. I think, thank you for all the information in here, Norm. It's quite the book of stuff. And I also agree with Board Member Hughes. I'm 100% in favor of both of these projects. And I think that the nice thing about being in a community like this is there are citizens who have issues that they want to bring up, and I think it's important to talk about it and to value those opinions and then digest it and look at overall what the right thing to do is. And I think that this washdown pad is going to be great for this side of the bay, and I'm fully supportive. We've been talking about it for years, and it's great that it's getting done. And it will be nice also when the new ramp is all done over there, because I think that the south side of the harbor might get a little congested in the early part of the summer. So looking forward to it.
Let's start with, I am sorry that Nicole Lawrence had to respond to the public. And if it was anything that came out of the meeting here, I think it's both unfortunate and inappropriate. She is certainly someone who can speak for herself and did very well. But that a public discussion into a need of the city should focus on, wind up focusing on any particular group. That certainly wasn't the intent. And if it were, so be it. Because you cannot stop this kind of discussion in the public, or you're going to be dead in the water. You're going to have to break a few eggs, you're going to have some rough edges, and so I'll jump right into the next thing. I don't understand, number one, why we killed these many trees to worry about creosote pile. I'm sure the science is there, but when I lived in Sitka and Wrangell, the water is so clear, you go out on those creosote pile docks and you can see the starfish and all the other stuff clinging to those piles. When I was in Point Hope, we had buildings built with creosote pilings, and the locals cut the piling tops off, and we had steam baths, steam baths. And I'll tell you what, that creosote gets hot, and I'm still here. So I think some of this stuff is way overblown, and I understand the public does have a right to bring it to our attention, but I don't know that it justifies a half an inch of paper. That's my opinion. The next, I agree with Board Member PACAB. I'm sorry to see that we have sort of left off with the research that we were doing with the housing issue. I did, during my tenure as chair, develop a list of presenters. We had a few of them. I think there are some critical ones we're missing, particularly the people who can solve the problem. And that will be the builders and the banks. And those people need to be invited here. Beyond that, the heat loop, I don't know how many people got the text this morning, but Mayor Terry's in Washington, D.C. with our senator with very positive news. Nobody wants to count their chickens before they're hatched, but Senator Murkowski is all about this kind of project. If you notice in the paper on Alaska, just got a big chunk of money for a geothermal project, the volcano, not Baywater, but that kind of thing is warming up. I would add one thing. I got a call this morning from Councilmember Casagrande, suggested to a local resident that they talked to me about whether they could be hooked into the heat loop system. I told them I didn't think so. There was a variety of problems. If this was a district heat, a city district heat, that would be different. This is a project, the heat loop is the project will support 4 buildings, hopefully. I would suggest we, as a group, investigate a suggestion to council and the administration through their boards that every new project that's done that disturbs the street or sidewalk include infrastructure for a future heat loop, and I would like to say a gas line as well. But that's for future discussion. I'll just get it on the table today. Okay, that's all.
Thanks. I just want to comment that back when we started the people coming in and talking about the housing issue, I thought we had decided as a group to end those discussions in March so that we could talk about presenting something and pulling it together in April before we stopped meeting for the summer going into the busy season. I think that's what I remember the discussion being, and I think that's why we are where we are. That being said, obviously we can still ask somebody to come in if we feel that there's a need or a missing point. I think at our next work session, we do need to talk about what we plan to do with the information that we've collected and what the next steps forward are. Maybe that's something conjointly with the chamber when they get the responses from their survey back, or something along those lines. But I think we should discuss it at our next meeting. Along those lines, I wanted to say that we have our seasonal housing up and running at Bornstein Seafood. We have employed 5 local people, 3 of them were homeless and are living in our bunkhouses and getting 3 meals a day. So I think that's a exciting thing to be able to do for the community. And I want to thank administration for your attention to the questions. I want to thank citizens who come forward with those questions and hold us accountable and request that we provide the things that go on behind scenes so that more people are aware of the work and the effort that does go into those decisions and projects that are going on. I think that just builds confidence in the city, in the things they don't see, to know that those things are happening in the background. So thank you for that. And do we have any comments from administration?
Yeah, one thing I did forget to mention, that we did go out for interviews for replacing Matt, and we actually offered it to a current employee, and he took the job, so Tony Saminsky's going to be the new deputy harbor master. Born and raised here, and he's not going anywhere, so.
Good. And he has housing.
I do have one comment for the administration, specifically the harbor. Who's going to be your new enforcer?
Tony.
Okay.
I'll provide some information in the next packet for you guys based off of the dialogue at the beginning of the meeting, but I had the opportunity to attend a KPED, Kenai Peninsula Economic Development District meeting on Monday. The state is working on their economic forecast report right now, and Tim Dillon is coordinating meetings. He coordinated a meeting for the Kenai Peninsula, but the state's doing a similar meeting for different regions of the state, and it was a really good opportunity to talk to Seldovia, city manager was present, Kenai, Soldotna, I was there, and just because Jeanette's in Washington, D.C. right now, and then Homer, and it was really interesting to talk about housing and workforce retention, and especially Homer and Seward are very much in the same boat. And in fact, listening to the Homer city manager, Rob Dumichel, I think Homer's actually in a worse position. Interestingly enough, Homer has no business licenses for short-term rentals, and they have no bed tax also, which makes it very difficult for their chamber to function. So Seward's in a way better position. But a lot of the same topics that this body talks about, the chamber director from, I think Homer was mentioning that they're dealing with the same types of issues. So I'll get you guys some more info on that meeting, but definitely interesting to hear that a lot of the same conversations you guys are dealing with are taking place across the peninsula, so, yeah.
Girdwood too. I think it was the night after our last meeting, there was a thing on the 6 o'clock news out of Anchorage about Girdwood having the same kind of problem.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time and your comments. We will adjourn at 12:59.